Joining us now, our political panel, Maura Gillespie, founder, principal, Blue Stack Strategies, along with Pat Dennis, American Bridge 21st Century President. A great panel. Welcome to both of you. As we keep an eye on the courtroom here, Maura, we're also watching this massive fundraiser that's set up for this weekend in Florida. It's a who's who on the political donation side, and of course, it's a who's who on the so-called short list, which feels pretty long at the moment for Donald Trump. We're setting up essentially here a big episode of The Apprentice, right? All of the contenders are going to be there, from Doug Burgum to Elise Stefanik, all trying to impress somebody so they can get the job. Is this how he's going to select his running mate?
Absolutely. It's very, very on brand for the former president to have these more or less auditions. And it really is a loyalty question, right? I mean, we saw that with the RNC when his daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, took over. The loyalty question it's not new for the Trump team. It's something that I personally experienced on back in 2016 when their team would ask, who'd you vote for? So it's certainly not a surprise to see it kind of go out this way at Mar-a-Lago. You're going to see people clamoring to show him how much they support him. Even if they've had disagreements with him in the past, they're going to make sure to put their, most admiring face forward.
Well, if you're Governor Burgum or Senator Scott, you were running against him in the primary initially, and then now may be trying to just hop right on the ticket. Pat, for President Biden, is there a vice presidential candidate who would be preferential in terms of the ability to outcompete the ticket as a whole versus just the front runner?
I think one thing I might disagree with a little bit is the idea that everybody's pushing to have this job. I think you've seen with Kristi Noem a little bit and with some other folks that maybe they're trying to pull away a little bit. And look, he almost had his last VP killed. I mean, that's a very serious thing to be dealing with. So there are some very weak candidates here. There are some very boring candidates. Doug Burgum is one of them. I think maybe he wants to lean towards somebody more boring, but we'll see what he goes with. Ultimately, for him, it's a show, right?
You said Kristi Noem. I just have to go here, Maura, because she did a news interview in an effort to clean up a pretty tough story that a lot of people have been talking about. A lot of folks saw her as a front-running contender to be Donald Trump's running mate. Of course, this is the governor of South Dakota, who wrote about her decision to shoot the family dog dead. Apparently, he was misbehaving or not doing his job or something. Didn't go over the way she expected. In fact, most people were shocked and outraged, as you might think. She went on Sean Hannity to try to clean this up and blame the fake news for leaving out the facts, which include that it was a working dog. It was not a puppy. Is she out of the running?
I would say yes, because it doesn't help Donald Trump to bring her into the fold, especially right now as he's hosting these auditions for vice president. She's not curried favor with pretty much anyone who has respect for life and animals. And just, again, the cruelty level is hard to miss there. I think he's best served to probably pick somebody like a Tim Scott, who has already, again, while he did run against him, he has already groveled and really kind of been right by his side trying to show his worth, essentially. And I do think that there is a lot that Tim Scott could bring to the ticket should Donald Trump decide to choose him. Kristi Noem, at this point, I do think she should just focus on South Dakota and hope to hang on to that job. I don't think that it would help her to stay in the limelight, and damage control is the least of her worries right now.
Well, Donald Trump continuing to play the teasing game outside court today, saying sometime before the convention, which a reminder for everybody is mid-July, he'll be announcing who this vice presidential pick is. He said a lot else, though, outside court, and consistently so. Pat, a lot of accusations that this case and all of the others against him are being driven by President Biden, that this is election interference. It's keeping him off the campaign trail. He makes these kind of remarks consistently. What we don't get consistently is a response from Biden or the campaign to that. Is that going to have to start changing if he continues to hound this messaging on the way in and out of court every single day?
And I think the important thing to say is that this is absolutely false, right? This is between Trump and the criminal justice system, and it's about what he did. And there are multiple cases, but they have nothing to do with Joe Biden. So, ultimately, I think something people have really noticed is the more he's on TV, the more he's in these court cases, the more he's, trying desperately to do a press conference outside of all of them, the more you're seeing that people are just so sick of him. Like, they remember what it was like when he was president. They remember the chaos, and they remember.
But he's still leading in the polls, though, consistently.
He is. And look, it's going to be a tough fight every inch of the way.
Well, I'll tell you, if you ask Mike Johnson about Donald Trump, I'm not sure he's too sick of him, because he seems to have saved his job, arguably with the help of Democrats here. We talked earlier with Congressman Brian Stile, Republican from Wisconsin, about the effort. We're going to have a vote next week, apparently, to oust the speaker, and everyone knows it's going to fail. Here's what Congressman Stile said.
Speaker Johnson's done an admirable job in incredibly difficult circumstances. I think it would be a mistake to have that bill brought forward. If it does, hopefully we are able to table that quickly. It really functions as a distraction.
So, Maura, will Mike Johnson owe a bigger favor to Donald Trump or to House Democrats if he survives this?
It's probably a mixed bag there. Trump has been really, supportive of Mike Johnson, and that's helpful, certainly when he's coming up against this vote to vacate. And in terms of what the Democrats will do, again, it's to show good faith in that he got the bills across for foreign aid that needed to get done. And again, it doesn't help the Republicans to go through another round of chaos like this. You have to think about the down ballot implications that come November. It's already hard enough to get people excited about the 2024 election when it comes to the two top candidates for president. So Republicans really do need to find some ways to get a win if they want to have any chance at hanging on to that gavel come November. And so they're going to have to figure out a way to show the American people and show donors that they can govern.
Especially, we're talking here about young voters, people who are on college campuses. Sure, not all of them are students, but broadly, how should we think about how this issue is going to influence not just the decision of who they vote for, but whether or not they vote at all in November?
It's a huge problem, and it's showing us the influence that people can have on them when they're being targeted with information, whether you're talking about those who invaded the Capitol on January 6th and tried to overthrow, the peaceful transfer of power and certifying the election, or if you're talking about people who smashed in windows at Columbia University. They are being driven and motivated by anger and fear. And we're seeing that play out in very dangerous ways. Mob rule cannot be tolerated no matter where you stand on the political aisle. And I quite frankly don't understand why we can't just be forthright in saying that this is unacceptable. This behavior is unacceptable. And to be a country of law and order, we need to have respect for that and be able to enforce those laws. I think it's going to be an issue come Election Day, because not only is this issue on Israel and our, supposedly our unwavering support for allies, but then it gets called into question because large amount of students and even people who weren't students are staging these protests. But then you also have the issues of economy and safety and security. Those are issues that Republicans have usually and typically win on. So the Biden administration has a real uphill battle here.